You're watching the Scottish Football Zone with all the build-up and reactions.
Hello, very good evening to you, and welcome to round two of the games in the Scottish Premiership at this weekend. We have got a busy show as always. Looking forward to the games. Don't forget you can comment on anything that we're talking about. We're joined tonight by Robbie and Alex. How's it going, guys?
Doing well, mate. Aye.
Yeah, mate. Back in the swing of things now with the football. Some great results last night for the Scottish teams, and I'm enjoying myself.
If you heard that noise, it wasn't a firework going off in my house. By the way, I just dropped my pen. So there you go. So yeah, it wasn't a firework. It's just a pen that was fell out of my hand as well. So yeah, fantastic start to the show. Robbie and Alex will be happy this week. Alex obviously on Tuesday night getting through into hopefully getting through, because in that round obviously you've got a second leg coming up on Tuesday night, and Robbie has got the signing of the window so far, and St Mirren's going to win the league according to Robbie. But Alex, I know that you were watching the show on Tuesday night. How did you think Rangers performed?
I think it was definitely the most complete performance we've seen from Russell Martin's Rangers side so far. There are a lot of positives. Obviously, still some issues, and maybe you could question the quality of the opposition as well. But we saw something that we've not seen a while for Rangers, two actually effective wingers. So that was quite good to see. Obviously, Jedi Gassama continues his really good form. And Oliver Adman straight in the team, grabbing an assist, winning the penalty. He was really good. Cyril Dessers back in the starting lineup. He was excellent with his hold-up play. Obviously, he scored the penalty, grabbed an assist as well. So I'm quite pleased overall with the performance, but we need to see them get the job done in the league like they didn't do last Saturday.
Yep, and also, we'll touch upon that game in a minute or two. What about the signing of the window, Robbie? And you've got the fantastic midfield now.
Aye, well, the midfield was really strong. The Michael obviously Barkas getting out yesterday sort of came out of nowhere. Did not expect it to happen at all. We'll know this quickly anyway. I saw him made a video yesterday morning saying it was merely just a rumour for some Mansfield fans, and then all of a sudden it happened. But look, there's a few clubs that are doing good business. You look at Hibs, the same Miguel Chaya today, who I believe was getting a lot of attraction over at Young Boys, so that's another good pick-up for them. Alex, obviously Rangers, signing Ant-Man earlier last week. He's obviously in the team now. I mean, you must have been happy that Kieran Dillon never featured in the first team anyway for the game.
Yeah, mate, I was quite happy not to not see him in the lineup, and I was happy with sort of the brave approach that Russell Martin took. Another one that I didn't mention there in my little monologue was Lyle Cameron. He was excellent as well. So it was a lot of sort of brave kind of choices from Martin. But yeah, Oliver Ant-Man straight in. He looks a player. He's got a bit of pace. I don't know if it's just me, like I've got a weird little thing with this, but see the quality of the cross for Gassama's goal, for Rangers' third goal. The fact that, he's played in and he just dinks it first time, floats it so well. It was a nice header. But yeah, the Rangers have been doing good business as well, and I was pleased to see that. But I was surprised to see Keanu Barkas. I was a bit like you, Robbie. I saw the rumours, and then like the next day or something, it was he was there in the St Mirren kit. I was thinking, wow, that's a really good signing.
Aye, for Burnley to believe Mansfield to wanted rid of him, I just don't think it was going to be in the team. And I think when Australia are obviously going into the World Cup next year, and I think he's been very vocal wanting to play in the Australian team again, which, I said it yesterday, he can realistically do that. If he can do that in Mansfield, I don't know. Obviously, we don't know now, but up here, I definitely think he's got a strong chance to break back into the Australian squad, and it just makes our midfield 10 times better. Absolutely no disrespect to Fraser Taylor or Liam Donnelly, but or Ocean Smith even, but having Bacchus in there is just a much better option to have. I mean, that midfield three of Phillips, Bacchus and O'Hara is just absolutely brilliant.
Aye. It was, it does look like it's going to be a really good sort of midfield, and I think your reaction was one signing off perfection, wasn't it?
I am happy Bacchus is in. I still think maybe a striker would just, maybe that's me being a bit greedy now, asking for a striker, but I feel like if we got another attacking option, considering James Scott just left the club to go to Ross County, then I think we would actually have the perfect squad to go forward.
Yep. So let's go back to last night's game, guys. Obviously, speaking about Rangers and Milan, they're on in the draw, but it was some week for the European clubs, not only Rangers on Tuesday night, and you can see what you want about the opposition. They're still in the Champions League, and they still won the game comfortably in the end. But let's go to the Dundee United Hearts game first. On Sunday, Robbie, and it was a brilliant night for Dundee United last night. As not the best performance in the world, but I don't think Jim Goodwin and his team would care about that. Fun is Rapid Vienna 2, Dundee United 2, and second leg could come next week at Tannadice.
I was speaking to you a bit before we came on, and obviously I didn't get to watch the second half. I've seen the highlights back now, and some really nice goals, especially Dundee United's second goal. I thought it was really well worked, but it was a good night. I mean, like the one thing with Jim Goodwin's team that I've always said, Michael, is, even when he was at us, and you can go back to last week against the other European opponents that took on, it's never the prettiest looking game in terms of stats, in terms of Dundee United side. Again, you look at stats last night, they got absolutely battered, and I'm sure Goodwin and the players know that, but it doesn't matter because they get away with a result, and it's a positive result. We said we know the threat of Rapid Vienna going into this game. We know what they can cause. They spend millions of pounds buying and selling players, which Dundee United don't. So to go away to such a big run with a big attendance, I think it was nearly 19,000, I think, in attendance, and pick up a positive result is something they can take back to Tannadice. And these new strikers are looking good as well. Max Waters came up for Barnsley, and I know a few Barnsley guys, and they weren't too bothered about him leaving. They didn't really like him that much, to be honest with you. Obviously Sabsford's another one that's kind of come in for Western Sydney Wanderers. We don't know too much about, but they've hit a ground running. The tap-ins really, but two really well worked goals overall, and the balance, I think. So it's a good night for Dundee United.
Yeah, no, we always speak about Celtic and Rangers in the Champions League, but it's brilliant to see other teams doing well in the Europe as well, albeit it's a conference league, Alex, but it's still European football.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that's something we've been crying out for years, just to, and now we need it more than ever to boost our coefficient. Because Scotland are in a bit of a state right now, and it could be, if we don't get more teams succeeding in Europe, it could be a long way to even Champions League football for even whoever wins the league in the coming years. So it really is fantastic to see. And in terms of last night, I'd agree with Robbie in the sense of, in terms of stats and maybe on the eye, it wasn't the most glamorous performance, but they got the job done. And it is a fantastic result to take back. And it was quite a scrappy game. I thought, a lot of battles. Rapid Vienna seemed up for the battle, but Dundee United met them. And it was, I know, obviously, you thought Rapid Vienna had won it. but the boy was offside in the build up, and it's a really great result, along with the other team as well, which I'm sure we'll get on to in a minute. But it's really good to see, and hopefully these two teams can progress along with Rangers. Then we'll have 5 teams in the playoff round, and hope well maybe this is really wishful thinking, but fingers crossed we have 5 Scottish teams in the league phase this season.
Well, that's never happened before. So, Robbie, don't worry, I'm not going to do a Stephen Thompson and Scatson, Vienna, because that was quite embarrassing last night when I saw it. I bet you his editor was a bit under the desk as well when he sang that Vienna song as well. Look at this way, we'll not get into the Eurovision, or maybe he will, but the UK will get any points. So it's a breath of fresh air for a team going away in Europe, but also, Robbie, to a difficult game as well, because it looked like some atmosphere last night.
It did. For both home and away, by the way. I thought Dundee United fans created some noise as well. Obviously, the clip went viral, the Dundee United fan falling down the stairs after they scored the first goal, which was quite funny. But no, credit to them. I mean, Jim Goodwin spoke before the game actually and did say, his team relishes playing in these big grounds and against these big teams, and I feel like that almost maybe suits Dundee United a bit more. Obviously, again, stats don't matter at the end of the day. They went there, they picked up the draw, going back to Tannadice, and they've given themselves a real good chance, make up, I guess, in the next round. I think it will, again, be another good atmosphere at Tannadice. I don't know the away ticket situation, but I'm going to assume Rapid Vienna have sold at their attendance.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I was just talking to Robbie before we came on there, and obviously Robbie saw the highlights of the game, but going by the game, Rapid Vienna had I can tell you that now they had 21 shots to Dundee United 7, and like what I was saying to Robbie was stats can only tell you one thing, but it's that the top right hand side where it tells you the score after the 90 minutes, and I don't think Dundee United fans would care if they had 7 shots at goal last night. Honest, it was they had a decent game. Take it back to Tannadice next week. Full house Alex, and hopefully finish the job.
Yeah, definitely. The one, like you said, that's one of my favourite things. My dad's always said it when I've brought up stats. It's the one in the top right that matters. I don't know if you saw it, but see when Dundee United originally equalised as well, we were just talking about fans a minute ago. Did you see the boy who fell down the stairs?
Yeah.
I hope he's all right, but it was just funny. You see the limbs, and you just see this guy sliding down the stairs. No, but it was, but it is, and then bringing that kind of result back to their home ground, and you've got that confidence now, sort of building on it. I think that as well feeds into why a lot of people like the home leg, the home leg second, because you look at Dundee United now, they've got that result, and they can take something back to their home ground. They can get the supporters around them, and really try and make something of it and progress. Especially this season, I think the level of opposition's been higher. And Robbie, I'm sorry to say, but I think the teams this season are making a better effort of it and showing better than the teams last season.
No, 100%. I'd agree with you. From a personal standpoint, I thought we'd done really all we could in Europe. I thought we come up against a really tough team, but again, that's not trying to make excuses. At the end of the day, we didn't qualify for the league phase, so obviously it does get put down as a disappointment at the end. But Dundee United have given themselves a good chance, and I agree with you, Alex. This is why I like the away leg first. If this was a home game and Dundee United drawn 2 each, I don't personally think you'd be fancy them going away to Vienna to try and go and get a result, to be honest.
No, definitely not. It completely switches your psychology, doesn't it? If they draw at home, it's like, oh, going away to Austria, but they get a result away from home going back to Scotland, and they're like, this is great, we can do this. It really, sort of spurs them on, and spurs on us watching as Scottish guys wishing that we'll get more teams in Europe.
And now, Robbie, they need to turn their attention to another difficult away game on Sunday for the away to Hearts before they take upon the second leg. But Hearts has came off a brilliant result against Aberdeen on Monday night, so it should be a cracking game on Sunday.
Aye, well, Mike, I do believe it's at Tannadice, not Tynecastle. So
Tannadice, yeah.
So. But it will still be a tough game regardless. We know the start that Hearts have had to the season. Obviously, I think if we're being completely fair, I don't think Aberdeen posed too much of a threat, to be honest with you. I don't think they looked at their best, but that's historically what happens when Hearts and Aberdeen come face to face. Whoever's the home advantage really does have home advantage in their game. So it'll be, I imagine, a bit of a different game. I think Dundee United should be right up for it though, and I think it's important to build momentum. You don't want to have a disappointing result going back into Thursday's second leg, because it can demoralise the players a bit. But look, they've got after a brilliant start, and the attacking players are showing a lot of goal threat, so it's something they can look forward to. And obviously, we spoke at the end of last season when we sort of knew Sam Dalby wasn't going to be returning, and sort of mentioned how they had to replace that big sort of goal threat that they had. I think they've done it quite well.
And of course, Alex, don't drive to Tynecastle. Well, obviously not tonight, because nobody will be there. But on Sunday, because no one will be there apart from the Edinburgh Festival. So yeah, if you're going to the game, go to Tannadice. Don't listen to me as well. But Robbie, Alex has been. I would say both teams going into the games had a pretty decent week. Obviously, Dundee United in Europe last night, and obviously they went away to Falkirk last Sunday, and they had to come down. They had to come back from. I think they were 2-0 down at one stage to draw the game 2 each.
I don't know if it was. I think it was in a similar vein to their game against Rapid Vienna, where it was going 1-0, 1-1, 2-1, 2-2. But they did, they got the draw. And see, my main takeaway from that game though is, I'm sure we'll talk about them later, but Falkirk are a bit better than I maybe anticipated them to be. In my sort of league table prediction, I had them down in 10th, because originally when they got promoted, a lot of people had them. Can Falkirk have a dark horse top 6 push? And then they barely signed MD. I think they signed. They've barely brought in anyone, but they played better than initially I thought they would. That was my main takeaway from that game, but it was definitely an interesting game, and it was a funny contrast as well, because Ethan told me this in the Falkirk Dundee United game. Obviously, there was all this chat about Dundee United only having one Scottish guy. Falkirk had 10 Scottish players in their starting 11, and the only one who wasn't was Scott Arfield, and he basically is Scottish. So Falkirk, right. Big contrast to Dundee United, but that was an interesting game. Going into this game on Sunday, I'm not super optimistic about them, because Hearts looked really good on Monday. They did, and although keep going back to stats, but the stats won't tell you the whole story of the game, because on the face of it, Aberdeen had more possession, more shots, more expected goals, all that. But Hearts were, you need to watch. They call it the eye test. You need to watch. Hearts were really, really good, and they needed them. And Aberdeen didn't have an answer for them. And when it comes to this game on the Sunday, I'll be really intrigued to see, because I think from Hearts' League Cup performances and their sort of start obviously on Monday, I think one of the toughest games possibly they could have to start the season. They've really impressed.
Alex,
Yeah.
sorry, I was just going to say, not to look too far ahead for Dundee United, but if they do manage to get past Rapid Vienna next Thursday, do you think the next round is, well, what do you think about the next round? It's either Stockholm or Beyond. I think Stockholm won the game first leg 2-1, so it looks like they could advance. So do you think that's a harder, or do you think it's sort of similar level with Rapid Vienna for Dundee United?
I think that's tough, because I'm not going to claim to be an expert on AIK or Rapid Vienna here, but I would say similar, if not maybe a little bit lesser in quality, because we've seen it. I think we've seen it in the past with Scottish teams coming up against Swedish teams. It's similar levels of quality, so I wouldn't count them out if they progress to the next round. I think it would be definitely interesting. Obviously, they still need to get the job done in front of them, but I wouldn't count them out. Definitely not.
And as for Hearts this week, it's been a quiet week. Obviously, you're right. Looking back at that game on Monday night, Alex, Aberdeen were the better team. But it's amazing when the team scores a goal. Aberdeen kind of really just fell out that game and didn't have any kind of ideas. Derek McInnes was talking about the game yesterday, and he said we need to be up for this game. And he actually sat down with he actually had a sit down with the players and go through the game as well. So it'll be a difficult game for both of these teams. But I'm interested to see how Derek McInnes gets on Aberdeen, because because no disrespect to Mark, but I said in the show before that I think he would have a bit of more of a budget and more of a fan base. Would that be right for me to say so, Alex?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, well, with the sort of new investment from Tony Bloom, that they would have a big budget to sort of play with, and they've made a lot of signings. They've made another signing during the week that we knew was going to happen for about, I don't know how long, but Pierre-Landry Kabore from Narva Trans. I think he's a Burkina Faso, 24-year-old left winger. So that's it. That's another good signing on the face of things. But and also as well though, Derek McInnes, he better make good on all this backing, because Tony Bloom's got pretty high expectations for Hearts. He thinks, what was it he said? He potentially push for third or even second this season, and in the next 10 years win at least one league title.
If anything can hope his team can challenge Celtic, which it's a bold claim to make, but if he's there going to be flinging money about, why not make the claims? I mean, it's highly unrealistic. It's going to take a long time, in my opinion, before any team challenges Celtic or Rangers. But if he's investing £10 million or whatever it is, then he's clearly got expectations set on Hearts that he thinks he can go and do that.
Let's just see if he can stay waking for a whole game, Alex, and go falling asleep. As well, that was one of the highlights of the week for me as well. And but yeah, let's hope he doesn't fall asleep on Sunday at Tallydale, not at Tynecastle, at Tallydale. Let's speak about another team that was in action last night. It was the old Dougal Kybies and Martin Boyle got the double. In fact, it's a landmark win for Hibs away from home. Again, the 1-2-0 last night, Alex, away from home. Very impressed by that. I never saw any of the game, but winning 2-0 away from any team in Europe must be a brilliant win for them and a kind of good performance.
Yeah, definitely. I did have the game on. I was kind of trying to watch two screens at the same time, so I think my analysis will be 100%. But I was going between that and the Dundee United game. But it's a great result, especially going away to Serbia and Partizan Belgrade, because that's a hostile environment to go to. And it was a really good result for them. Obviously, they were helped a bit by the red card, but they were still creating chances beforehand. They had a few attacks. Kieran Bowie looks like a player as well, and I think us national team fans are starting to invest a bit of hope into him that we'll finally have a striker for the Scottish national team. But anyway, it was a good performance. Martin Boyle's goal, his first one, was a really nice finish. It was like it was from a corner, comes to him at the back post, and he just rattles it in, catches it really, really well. Obviously, his second goal's a penalty. By that point, I'd lost, my stream of the game. My computer wasn't agreeing with me, so I didn't see that. But obviously, 2-0 is a fantastic result, and I'll hold my hands up here and I will say I think I underestimated Dundee United and especially Hibs this week, because I think I tipped the two of them to actually go out at this stage, and unfortunately I did do that and I didn't believe in them, and now they're taking two fantastic results back to their home grounds, especially Hibs, and I'll be very surprised if they don't go through. Because obviously Partizan Belgrade will now be missing a starter because he got sent off in that game. They'll be down 2-0. To what I assume will be a sold-out Easter Road. And hopefully they can get over the line, because last week was a bit of a gut punch for them.
Before we move on, I've completely forgot. I'm actually doing well this week, actually, about the prediction of the Dundee United and Hearts game. So, Robbie, what's your prediction on this one?
Yeah, it might seem boring, but I'm going to go a draw again for Dundee United. I think getting into the second leg, I think they need a positive result, and I think they might just get one. I'm going to go one each for the game.
Alex, Robbie just saw my prediction in the chat there, even though it's tweaked, but it's give a draw. So so there you go, Alex. So don't pick a draw this week because
this is for the Hearts game, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go 3-1 to Hearts.
Oh, 3-1. So there you go. So that's the prediction of the for the Dundee United Hearts game. Back to the Hibs game as well. It's brilliant to, and I'll keep going on about this, Robbie, and I might sing that a broken record, but it's brilliant to see other teams apart from Celtic and Rangers doing well in Europe.
I mean, it's a brilliant result. As Alex said, obviously you watched the game, you'll know better than us, but I expected a bit of a hostile environment going there. It must not be a nice place for away teams to travel to. So to go there, first of all, keep a clean sheet. They didn't even concede a goal. That's a brilliant achievement on its own. I know they were Partizan and down to 10 men, but it's still impressive. And to take a 2-0 lead back to Easter Road, it's a fantastic result. I just wonder if Martin Boyle made it out dead alive. I don't know if any of you seen that clip that he put up after the game, the Hibs admin. I thought that was quite funny, but it was a brilliant night for him. Brilliant to get 2 goals, and he looks like he's carrying his form into this season. I mean, last season I don't think he was as influential for maybe seen in previous seasons for Hibs, but getting 2 goals, it'll boost his confidence for you.
I think he actually had his best goal scoring season since Montrose last season.
Right.
So
I just mean in previous seasons, I feel like with how bad Hibs have done, I don't think in terms of how much he's actually had today, whereas I feel like in previous seasons,
okay.
maybe had to carry the team a bit more on his shoulders, when Hibs haven't been doing so well.
So it's his what you're saying is it's less on him to sort of carry that team now. Yeah, no, but sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I think that is credit to Hibs and the recruitment that David Gray's done, where he's bringing players that can balance the squad out a wee bit.
Aye, and what you were saying about him making it out alive was I thought it was pretty brave of him to cup his ears to the Partizan Belgrade fans after he scored, going up like that. I think that's absolutely mental.
And I mean, full credit to David Gray, Alex, because obviously, especially on my show last season, and I'm sure you and Ethan was the same when the podcast when you spoke about his appointment and you were like that. It's a bit of a risk taken, and obviously, he never got off to a good start as well. And I think he was right up there for manager of the year because the second half of the years, maybe since December onwards, he basically turned it round as well. And the years he beat Celtic at Easter Road, and I can't remember if he beat Rangers or picked up a point against Rangers. You'll be able to tell us, Alex, but I mean, for David Gray, as they called him in Edinburgh, done a brilliant job last season, and he's carried it on to European football last night.
Yeah, just on your question there, they did actually beat Rangers at Ibrox, I think. So that's just off my memory there, but I've probably tried to suppress that actually, but no, but he did do a fantastic job, and full credit to the Hibs board as well, because for weeks you guys were probably the same. We were going, no, they have to sack him now. They have to get rid of him now. They can't go on any longer. And they stuck with him, and they must have seen something that nobody else saw. And Hibs grew into one of the most exciting teams, I think, to watch in the Premiership. I enjoy watching them. I think just the style of play and the amount of attacking talent that they have on offer, and they're still adding to it. Obviously, we've not even seen much of their club record signing yet, because Kieran Bowie's been in the team, and fair enough, because he deserves it, because he's been really, really good. So full credit to David Gray. Yeah, he's been excellent. And all things point to a brand new sort of excellent campaign for Hibs. And obviously, the Dundee game last week, although it finished 2-1, it could have been 7. Hibs were all over them as well. Just on Dundee there as well, mentioning that, a wee bit of breaking news here. Dundee have signed Jan Danda on loan from Hearts for the season. So that's probably the first good signing I think Stephen Presley's made.
It's a brilliant signing for Dundee. I think he'll add some good quality to them. I think it's probably needed, to be honest with you. But that's what Stuart on the show last week was talking about. The fans need to be patient. There was a month left, so that's a good step in the right direction. But just on the Hibs point that Alex was talking about there, I think this could be a brilliant season for Hibs, and I'm looking outside, obviously, in my opinion anyway, Celtic have got one of the easier ties, and look, no European game's easy. We've said that, but whatever team you face is going to be hard. But outside of that, I think Hibs have probably got the best chance of qualifying. I think Liga also will be tough, but I think it's a tie that Hibs should be looking to go through, in my opinion.
Robbie, Hibs is at home on Sunday against Kilmarnock, and obviously it's unfair for me to say what do you think of Kilmarnock after one game, but I mean they actually took a point out of the Livingston game, and I don't know about you, but I think Stuart Kettlewell at home in front of his own fans. And I think the play could get a lot of chances in the game. I'm trying to remember back to that game, but I think they would be a bit disappointed. And then Sunday going to a very difficult venue at Easter Road.
I think it'd be extremely disappointed to be 2-0 up and not come away with the 3 points on the opening day against the team that have just came up. It's probably a bit of a disappointing result for him. That's taking nothing away from Livingston. They showed incredible fight to get back in the game, but you should be able to see that at that point. I know obviously the red card doesn't really help the situation, but you should be looking to hold out, and it's another tough game at the weekend. I expect Hibs will be fit and firing as always. They've just signed that new midfielder. They've got a pretty decent squad size, so they might be able to rotate a bit and keep the fitness up and the freshness of the squad up. So it's going to be a tougher game for Kettlewell, and it's why I maybe think that's why getting the 3 points on the opening day was so crucial, because you're coming up now against a Hibs team that are going to be all cylinders firing after that good result in Europe.
Just on that as well, on the Livingston game, I think Kilmarnock were a bit lucky to sort of be 2-0 up at half time. Because from what I've seen from Sports Scene and reading about the game, looking at stats, and then talking to a few mates who watched it, Livingston were the better team overall, even when it was 11v11 on the pitch. David Martindale sticking with his style of this style that got them promoted. He's not just going back to hoofball. Back to the Premiership. So I think Kilmarnock were lucky to be 2-0 up. Obviously, to throw that away is obviously really, really, really bad. And I agree with you on that point, Robbie. Going into a game like that the next week, those 3 points had to be crucial for them. They had to get them, and they didn't. And I'll be honest, I don't think their points will be going up after this game either.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think after the result last night, Robbie, I think Easter Road will be kind of like a full house on Sunday, so Kilmarnock will be in for a game.
Aye, I mean, I don't know the away situation. I don't know how many Kilmarnock are going to be taking there, but I'm sure Kettlewell will be up for it just as much as Hibs will be up for it. But I agree with Alex. I really struggle to see Kilmarnock coming away with any type of good result on their side, and I'm happy to be proven wrong. I think they've got players in there that can cause problems. But I do suspect Hibs will be right up for the game.
Yeah. But then enough, the game might catch Hibs, or because obviously, going into that game was a adrenaline, Alex, and then travelling back. I presume that they got back about 4 in the morning or whatever, and then for a cool down today and training tomorrow. It's going to be very difficult. But I mean, these kind of games can take your kind of like adrenaline going away in Europe and winning the game as well,
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure as well they'll kind of recover really well. They'll have a plan in place for that. They could, use that kind of adrenaline, as you say, and that victory, just to ride high into the game, even if their legs are a bit tired, even if they are feeling physically tired. I'm sure they're not feeling mentally tired. I'm sure they're on top of the world after that. And it's if they keep going, it could really build some momentum for them. I think right now they've already got momentum, and unfortunately for Kilmarnock, they're going to be standing in the way of a freight train, I think, personally, and I think they'll get run over the top of fairly easily.
Okay, guys, time for your predictions and get off that fence, Robbie. That's time.
I'll no better draw this time. I'm going to go 4-1 to Hibs.
Alex?
I'm going to go 4-0 to Hibs.
2-1, I say, to the High Bees on Sunday. So, sorry, Kilmarnock fans, but there you go. Let's move on to the. But before we get Alex's take on Rangers European game on Tuesday night, I know we spoke about it at the top of the show, but let's go up to Aberdeen on Sunday, and it's kind of like. Aberdeen against Celtic, 12:30 kickoff on Sunday. And Robbie, would this be a revenge game for Celtic after the cup final against Aberdeen last season?
Well, they'll need to be better than they were against us at the weekend. And look, Aberdeen will need to be better as well. I mean, Celtic got the 3 points, but in terms of performance on both ends, it was a really disappointing weekend for both sides. It's interesting, there was a really good comment for Paul Donaldson on the show on Sunday. And it was mentioned about, I think it was Monday night, actually mentioned about Aberdeen switching to the 5-back. And I think if you're going to be playing against these teams, and I think Paul said it as well, you're going to need to switch to the 5-back and be a bit more solid at the back. You're going to need to create problems for Celtic. And look, Celtic need to be better as well. I'm really interested, Michael, in the team sheet ahead of the game, because we obviously know Ida was getting a fair bit of criticism after the game, and so I'm left here wondering who he's maybe going to start up front at the weekend. But look, both teams will need to be better. It's so hard to judge a game like this after both teams have probably not put in the performance that you want. It is, well, for what I suspect, it's going to be a really close game. And obviously, the big talking point this week might have sort of been off the pitch for Celtic and Brendan Rodgers and more media comments that have come out. That obviously yesterday after his press conference, which I found to be really interesting.
Yeah, no, obviously, this will be. I think these kind of games at the moment, Alex, has been overshadowed as well, because obviously, this is Brendan Rodgers' second press conference of the season, and there's only been about one question about the opposition, i.e., last week at St Mirren and this week Aberdeen, and all the other questions from the media has always been about the transfer window. I mean, how do you think that the situation is? Take your Rangers hat off for a minute if you can. I'm sure you're rubbing it from the other side of the city. But I mean, Celtic must have about, I don't want to put a figure on it, but they must have millions of pounds in the bank and not getting spent. Do you think Brendan Rodgers is getting frustrated about the fans?
Yeah, I think it's the same old story with Celtic, isn't it? The board are just doing, what they can to sort of stay on top in domestic football, and then they're like, when they get there, they're like, we'll just sort of stay there. We don't really want to go any further, and it's the same. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's the same kind of issues that Rodgers had in his last stint about them, not backing him to sort of progress the club and compete in Europe. And I would have thought after last season, losing the last kick of the game to Bayern Munich, they really took a game to them. They really took it to them. And I would have thought after last season that they would have went, okay, we can actually do something in Europe here. And when you progress in Europe, it's more money in the pocket for each round, and that's the way it should go. But it seems like he's frustrated again, and I'd be frustrated as well, because Celtic's window so far has been quite poor, in my opinion. The weeks are ticking down. We're into the sort of last month of of the business, and I think they've still got a decent squad there. But I think one of the main concerns would be, I think they do need another left back, because you can't rely on Kieran Tierney for a season. Unfortunately, great player that he is, he's made of glass, and then sort of up top, I think is it, they've got 3 strikers, 4 that are maybe not good enough. They've got a young boy who's just came in, Callum Osmond. I think this is sort of first professional contract, so you can't really be relying on him. Adamida, who is, a figure of criticism among the support. Shin Yamada, unproven. He might turn out to be class and score 50 goals this season. You never know, but obviously he didn't play at the weekend, so it remains to be seen. And then Johnny Kenny as well. And some people were actually shouting for Johnny Kenny to start the game coming up. And if you look at the winger situation as well, they've lost Nicholas Kuhn. They've lost Jota's out for like half the season with injury. I think their wingers currently, if I'm missing anyone, let me know. Or I think Nagrin can play on the wing.
James Forrest.
Yeah, James Forrest, Benjamin Nagrin, Yang, and Maeda.
It's not good enough to win a league, in my opinion. It's still very much, by the way, the bulky a team that did win a double last season. I think that's what a lot of Celtic fans forget. That yes, you can be frustrated that the business isn't getting done. I get that, but that is still very much, as you mentioned, that's the bulky a team that did do so well last season.
Sorry, Robbie, to cut you off there as well, though. I know Rangers drew on the first game of the season, so maybe this isn't the best time to make this point, but there's no way that Rangers are going to be as bad as they were last season. There's no way.
You're right. They've only been that's where the worry comes in for Celtic. I'm looking at the left back situation that you mentioned. Josh Deutsch, I know was rumoured with Celtic. I think all Celtic fans would have loved it if they went out and get him. I thought that would have been a good player to get. But the confusing thing for me is the transfers that Celtic are making. With all that money in the bank, and I'm also not going to put a figure on it, although I do believe it's a lot of money Celtic have got there to spend. The moves that they're doing are confusing me. Signing loans for Man City and stuff like that. It's not really screaming out to me Champions League quality business that I maybe thought Celtic were going to make. And that is where the concern comes in. You've got Johnny Kenny up front that's just signed a new contract till 2029, which, that's a good part of business, getting him tied down in the long term. But realistically, is he going to be able to be your main striker this season? Is Adamida going to be able to be it? I don't think so. I think £9 million was overpaid. Looking at the retrospect now, although I know he scored a lot of goals last season, but I just don't think he can be Celtic's main striker. There's a lot of positions all over the pitch that Celtic need to strengthen. That's why I think they're going to struggle at the weekend. Aberdeen didn't look great, but if Paul's right and Aberdeen do switch to the 5-back, I can see Celtic once again struggling to really break that down in the game.
I know that when Aberdeen plays Celtic or Rangers or any team outside the kind of Glasgow bubble, as it were, Alex, up in Aberdeen, they give them a proper game. But do you think Aberdeen will be up for the game because this is their second game, and obviously they beat Celtic in the Scottish Cup final, and also Celtic weren't flying in all cylinders last week against Mirren. But I mean, in saying that, you've got to give full credit to St Mirren because they kind of like frustrated Celtic. And I was saying to Robbie after the game that it's a breath of fresh air when a team comes to Park Peg or Ibrox and doesn't park buses bang the ball, they come out and kind of like have a go.
Yeah, definitely. I think the game on Sunday it will be interesting. I think in terms of being up for the game, I think Aberdeen will have sort of a bit between their teeth after that poor showing on Monday, especially Cassini Yengi. I mean, if he gets another chance like he did, he can't pass that up. Because that was so poor from him. Celtic will obviously want to improve their performance on Sunday. I caught a little bit of it. They had most of the ball, but it wasn't all inspiring stuff. And if who was it? Was it if Ocean Smith could score for 10 yards out, then maybe it would have been a different story. Instead, I think he scuffed it into a defender. I think it will be interesting. obvious. The game's at Pittodrie, I think, so it'll be a tough place for Celtic to go, as it is for many teams to go. And I think a weird thing about Jimmy Tolina is last season against Celtic and Rangers, it was always one of two ways. It was either he'd sort of have the other manager's number and it'd be really close, or they'd get the win, or they'd just get battered. So I think it'll go one of those two ways on Sunday. And, I'm in my inherent bias, I'm leaning more towards give them a game. But to be honest, I could see it going the other way.
Robbie, as for Aberdeen, do you think the Aberdeen fans are like they were a bit disappointed in Jimmy Tillman last season, but they kind of maybe forgave him a wee bit after beating Celtic in the Scottish Cup final? But I think it's very important, albeit they get beaten Monday night. But I think it's important how Aberdeen might have to go on a rerun now to make up for more basically all last season, because I think Aberdeen won 13 games on the bounce, and then the wheels come off the bus and all the rest of it. So I think this is a big season for Jimmy Tillman as well.
Aye, well, it was a disappointing second half of the league, and winning that cup brought them a bit more time. And look, it's going to be really interesting to see the balance of Aberdeen this year. Well, I'm obviously led to believe they are guaranteed some sort of European football until December, January. So, they will be having to balance that in the act as well. But this is important that Aberdeen do well in the league through all the season, because Aberdeen are always the club, in my opinion anyway, that struggle to build any form of consistency in seasons. I feel like they always sort of go up and down at points. And look, it's not every season you're going to win a cup at Aberdeen or Hearts or Hibs. So for a manager at managing one of their clubs, you need to be able to be consistent in the league, and it's one of the big things that they're going to test Aberdeen. And it all starts this Sunday. This is a big game, not just for Aberdeen, but for Celtic as well. Celtic will be heading into the European qualifiers soon. If they drop points at the weekend again, the questions are really going to be asked by the board, and it's going to make Brendan Rodgers' points valid, because the board can't say he's not out there warning them about what's going to happen. He is out there demanding transfers and asking to be back. So it's going to be a pretty big game this Sunday.
Alex, Brendan Rodgers said today the cup final was hard to lose. However, but we need to go up there and win the game, but we need to play well and be on our cup of the game. But I think that the cup final was hard to take if you were a Celtic fan and whatever. But I think that would make you more kind of determined to go out there, improve, and beat the opposition on the first second game back of the season.
Yeah, definitely. I think sort of trying to redeem yourself in a kind of way can get you a long way. Maybe even if the quality is not there, like I remember playing football, and there was this team we could never beat, and then there was that moment where you all come together and you do beat them, because you just want to get that back on them. And Celtic, I think Celtic will, because like we've already mentioned, majority of the squad were part of that squad that won the double but couldn't get the treble. So I have a feeling that there will be a sense of redemption for a lot of these players. Obviously, they won't go in with that thinking about it, but I'm sure it's playing on a few of their minds. They'll go up and play their normal game, but it will be in the back of their minds, sort of taunting them, I guess, and and they'll be hoping that they can get the monkey off their back, so to speak.
Score predictions, guys, Alex, for this game, Aberdeen Celtic.
Right. Logically, I've got to go with 2-0 to Celtic, but if I'm going illogically, I'm going 1-0 to Aberdeen.
Okay, so Alex basically sitting on the fence, Robbie there. Okay, Robbie.
I don't mean to disappoint you, but I'm sitting on the fence as well. As a neutral, I'm going for one each. I'm going another draw. And I think
Take
Celtic. I think this has been, not to dive too much on the man, but I think this has been Celtic. You will see signings come in the door. It wouldn't surprise me if they drop points on Sunday and they had signings made by Tuesday or Wednesday.
I'm going to go for another 2-1. 2-1 to Celtic on Sunday. So there you go. Moving on to tomorrow night's game, and I believe Alex might be at this game, I think. As Rangers against Dundee, as Alex told you earlier on, Jan Danga has signed for Dundee. Was that until... is that for the rest of the season, Alex? Sorry, never.
Yeah, it's a loan for the duration of the season.
That's quite a good move. We'll come back and speak to Dundee in a minute. Alex, I just wanted to ask you a quick question about going back to Tuesday night's game, and basically the old saying in Scottish football, there's a mole in the camp. And the mole was the Rangers came getting in like 8 hours or something before the game. But in the daily record today, as you can see, Barry Ferguson's got his old job back. He said that former interim Rangers manager Barry Ferguson had wronged Russell Martin about a Rangers mole leaking the team starting lineup. First of all, how do you feel about that comment from Barry Ferguson, even though he's been away from the dugout for about 10 minutes and he's coming out making statements like that?
I don't know. I mean, Barry Ferguson's always kind of in the media. Before he got the job last year, he was always on the radio and that, so I'm not too bothered about that kind of thing. Maybe it's something that he experienced while he was there. I don't know. That would be concerning if that was the case and it's still going on. But as of right now, I think they just need to try and deal with this situation quickly and quietly. Get the guy, get whoever it was, and make sure it doesn't happen again. I think in terms of leaking a team, I don't think that's too bad. But it's when if other stuff starts to get leaked, like tactics or transfer strategy or like the inner workings of the club, that's when it would be really concerning. Or somebody's just made a stupid mistake and accidentally told their mate, and they've spread it about. It could be any one of those things, but I think if it is an actual mole who is leaking information purposefully, they need to identify who it is and get it sorted as quick as possible, because you can't have that looming over you for a season.
I don't think, I don't know if you saw the press conference today by Russell Martin, Alex, but I don't think he was that bothered about it. Well, bothered might be the wrong word, but he said that you're always going to get rumours now because all the moles, basically because of social media as well. But what he was saying was that because the team was leaked maybe the 8 hours before the game, then it won't give the other team, things to change in the system before the game. So Russell Martin didn't seem too much fussed about that.
Yeah. I'd agree with that point in terms of, looking a team on the day of the match isn't too bad in terms of kind of hindering your chances of winning. Clearly it didn't. But I think he's trying to present sort of a cool, calm, collected face to the public, whereas behind the scenes, I'd imagine he was maybe quite crossed about it, and he's trying to sort it, and he's working with the club to try and get it sorted.
Robbie, more quotes from Russell Martin today. He says every game is a challenge. it's a different game, and what he means by that is like Tuesday night, a European game, hostile atmosphere at Ibrox, and that wasn't just Alex, by the way, because Alex was at the game. You know, and then you go from that to play Dundee, and then you play. I think it's next Saturday night. You play Arrow, so it's like 3 different competitions at home. So I think that's what it was meaning, that every challenge is different.
Aye, very different. I mean, like when all Rangers can do it in European competition, we've seen it before. We know it can happen. The question is, can we do it in the league? And let's be honest, this is a game that Rangers absolutely need to win. Rangers cannot afford to drop any form of point in this game. It needs to be 3 points moving on. And it's going too early, but I think it will be from the end of the game. It's your point about the mould interesting, because I'd be intrigued to know what would have happened if it didn't go Rangers play against Poulsen at the week. I'd be interested to hear Martin's thoughts on that then. But I just think, you need to go and get the win in this game. But these are the type of games that maybe Rangers struggled to win last season. You look at St Mirren, you look at Motherwell, Ibrox. I think we mentioned Hibs as well. These teams could go to Ibrox and win, so it's important that Martin turns it into a bit of a focus and really kicks on and gets the 3 points.
Yeah, no, definitely. And also, the other quote from the press conference was, every challenge is different, but we're looking forward to our first league game at home. So yeah, I mean, how do you think they will fare tomorrow against? Obviously, we will speak about Dundee at the moment, but Dundee's going through a kind of, would you say, a bad spell, sticky spell under Stephen Presley as well?
I'd say probably a negative spell, to be honest with you. I think there's a lot of negativity about the club, as we heard for Stuart last week on the show. There's not much more I can say, Michael, than it is a must win for Rangers. They need to get 3 points in this game. Getting dropped is embarrassing, in my opinion, considering the circumstances of both clubs. I think one thing I enjoyed, Michael, and I don't know about you, but some press conferences I can listen to and I sort of go, that manager sort of hides a bit away. But I really enjoy listening to a Russell Martin press conference. I think he speaks very well. I think he speaks openly, honestly, and I think he says it there is, he says what needs to happen.
Alex came on at a good time there, because we were just reading about Russell Martin and his press conferences, and yeah, he's very open and honest, but I don't think a lot of Rangers fans would like that. I remember for Pamont was maybe the opposite from Russell Martin, but I mean, you go to Ibrox every week, Alex, you'll be able in a better position than me and Robbie. Do you think that, and I know it's very early in the Russell Martin tenure, but do you think, how do you think the fans are taking to Russell Martin? And then obviously when they're speaking in the media, is it too honest, or?
Was your question there? Is he too honest? I was having a bit of technical difficulties again there. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, no, that's okay. No, I was good saying, is he too honest and too kind of open sometimes?
I don't know. I quite like that in a manager, and I feel like his sort of decision to sort of come out and criticise the players after last week paid off. And he sort of showed that he's not afraid to make big decisions and replace players when they're not playing to, his kind of standards, and it paid off for him on Tuesday night with that win. I'd say I'd prefer a manager as honest, because you mentioned Philippe Clement there, and there was that. I was after Rangers get beat by Queen's Park, and he was going, but we had 28 shots. Nobody cares. You get beat by Queen's Park at Ibrox. You know what I mean? And he's trying to sugarcoat things. He's like waffling about sports science every week and stuff like that, about rotating the team. And I feel like he was just trying every trick in the book to try and make himself not look bad. But a manager is honest. I feel like Russell Martin as well. He'll take accountability for himself, and then he'll criticise the players when necessary. So I quite like that.
Alex, somebody made a really good point on another show that I was listening to, and he was a Rangers fan. He was very honest, and he made a really good point that it's not like Russell Martin's coming out and saying it, and that the players themselves will know. The players will know that it's not been good enough in previous seasons, and it wasn't good enough against Motherwell either. So I don't really get this argument. I don't think at all Russell Martin shouldn't have said what he said. I think it was brilliant he said what he said, and I think, again, as the caller mentioned, it's something that the players know themselves. It's not as if the players are oblivious to the fact that they haven't been good enough.
Yeah, no, I didn't understand all the sort of hullabaloo around it. It was, I thought it was blown way out of proportion, as the Scottish media tend to do quite a lot. I think, they take something and run with it. Obviously, it's a business that I want to get into, so maybe I'll need to get used to that. But, they take something and run with it to try and take it as far as they can, and make a big deal out of it. But it wasn't. And anyway, he proved that he was right. So in the end, yeah, Robbie, I totally agree with you there, mate.
Alex, I presume that you're going along to Ibrox tomorrow night, 5:45 kick-off on the Saturday night. What are you expecting from Dundee?
Just to answer your question there quickly, I will not be going to Ibrox tomorrow because I've got work, and I'll be able to watch the game, but I won't be able to get to the stadium quick enough. So unfortunately, I won't be going to the game tomorrow. But in terms of what I expect from Dundee, I don't expect a lot. They've not been very good, and if Rangers don't win convincingly, my concerns will start to creep in again, because I feel like the Motherwell game was really poor. The Motherwell game was really poor, and but the reaction was really good on Tuesday. But they need to build on that, and they need to beat what is. I think it's obviously very early, and I don't like to, really come out and scare the team. But I think what is clearly the worst team in the division this season, if they don't come out and beat them quite convincingly, the concerns will start to creep in from me again.
I will be shocked if that 90 minutes is up in Dundee even hit a shot. Honestly, I will. They played Hibs at home and only had 2. So that shows you the type of team that they are this season. I hope Stuart's not watching, because I know I predicted Dundee's result to go similar last week, and I was correct. But that team are really bad, and Jan Dander might prove a bit of more attacking quality and a bit more of a threat going forward. No against Rangers at Ibrox. I think this is a different Rangers team. I think they will batter Dundee, to be honest with you. And Alex, I think you're right. I've seen a couple of callers, and I spoke to a couple of Rangers fans that have said, "Oh, if we get a result, it'll be fine." No, you need to score a few goals into this Dundee team. You need a bit of hammering for it to be considered a positive bit.
Yeah, definitely. I want it to be a hammering. I want it to be the same team as well, and a Lyle Cameron hat-trick would be pretty nice. But did you see he's getting a lot of grief, and I think that's quite fair, because did you see the interviews, and he's talking about Dundee as if they're like an amateur team or something? It was absolutely mental.
You know what? My things on that, I just think it maybe. I don't want to say fell under pressure being in front of a camera, but I feel like he maybe didn't mean it to be as harshly as it sounded. If you get me, I don't think he actually thought Dundee's an amateur team, but it did sound that way.
Yeah, I'll just address this comment from the Gorgie Boys podcast. It is early days. Gassama does look very, very good. I'm excited that it looks like we've finally got some decent wingers in the door. In terms of other areas I would strengthen, I think another centre back would be brilliant. We've been linked with Nobel Mendy from Real Betis. Apparently, we've agreed terms with him along with Rayo Vallecano, so it's down to the player to choose. And then I think we need to hash out a fee. I think he had a £3.5 million move to PSV fall through earlier in the window, so that would maybe be the region that would pay for him. But yeah, definitely another centre back and another left back, because it looks like Ridvan Yilmaz is on his road out the door. Obviously, he's not being included in the European squad. We've not really seen him at all. So yeah, another left back.
If I can just ask you in the defender department, what is the deal with Emmanuel Fernandez? Because I know Rangers spent a decent chunk of money, and for what I'm led to believe, we've still not seen him play a minute yet.
I don't know. I think, I must have been watching a different game and everyone on Tuesday, because everyone's ranting and raving about how good Nasser Jiga was. I thought he was a wee bit nervous. Again, I think he did have good moments, but people are trying to compare him to Leon Balgin and Carlos Cuellar. I think it's a wee bit early for that. But he's in terms of Emmanuel Fernandez, I don't know. I think we will see him at some point. But I'll be honest, Robbie, I don't know, mate. But another defender would be really good, and another left back I think would be good. Depending on who goes out, we might need another striker. I think we're okay for wingers right now. Although news that I read today, I think Russell Martin maybe mentioned that Mikey Moore, they won't be able to register him until like a week until he turns 18 or something, which is a wee bit of a debacle. Not too concerning, but yeah, I'd say main ones for me would be a centre back and a left back.
Robbie, looking at Stephen Presley's press conference as well, quotes come out of that was, we watched them and so it will be a difficult challenge, but we'll be right up for the game. Do you make any case for Dundee?
The short answer is no. I can't see Dundee being anything in this game. I just don't like the look of them. If you're only hitting 2 shots at home against Hibs, and it isn't even just the stats, by the way. If you actually watched that game, Dundee were playing at home and sitting in against Hibs like they were the away team going to Easter Road. They just showed barely any signs of attacking threat. And I know they've got Jan Danda new and they could make a difference, but as I said earlier, I just can't see it being at Ibrox, unfortunately for Presley and his team.
Yep, we spoke about it and you broke the news, because Alex, about 20 minutes ago, Jan Danda signed for Dundee. I think that will give them a different option at the top of the park.
Yeah, definitely, and I think it's a good move for the player as well as a good move for the side, because Jan Danda's time at Hearts hasn't gone as well as maybe we all thought it would. Because coming out of Ross County, he was sort of a real creative outlet. He was the main man there. Comes into Hearts and he's not really performed. So maybe going back to a team sort of in the lower half of the division, you can take on that mantle again and find the form that put him on Hearts' radar in the first place.
So, score predictions, guys, in this game, Alex?
I'm going to go with... You know what? I said I wanted a hammering, so I'm going to go with 6-0 to Rangers.
At half time. Robert?
No, I'm going to go 7-0 to Rangers.
Oh my God.
I think it'll be a bad. And then, but I made a prediction on Brian and Ryan's podcast that I said the highest win, I believe, is 9-0 to Celtic away at Dundee United in terms of a win in the league. I think at some point, if Presley's still in charge, I think somebody will beat that against Dundee this season.
I mean, if Rangers can beat it tomorrow, I'll take that.
So I think I will go 3-0 Rangers tomorrow against Dundee. By the way, that is a 5:45 kickoff, and it's on famous sports that game as well. So there you go. That's the game tomorrow night. Let's speak about the games tomorrow afternoon, guys. We'll always definitely speak about this game, and I suppose when you're looking at St Mirren, Motherwell, St Mirren, you would call it the old friends reunited. I don't know if you remember that website, guy, friendsreunited.com. It was called back in the day, where you went on and met your school pals like from years ago, and you was like, oh no, look at the state of her hair and all that. But tomorrow, that seems a bit like that. It's St Mirren Park, Robbie. St Mirren against Motherwell.
I mean, I'm not going to call them my friends, but I feel like we are two teams that are pretty evenly matched. That's a game I'm excited for. I'm actually really excited to be back at the football. This is my first league game as well. I didn't get to go to Celtic Park. I'm buzzing for this, and I think I'm buzzing not really because of their signings, but because of Motherwell and the way they set up against Rangers. I thought they played really well. Probably, no disrespect, I thought they probably should have won the game based on the way the second half went anyway. And I thought one area I was really impressed with was the midfield, and that's why I'm excited, because I'm looking at the prospect of Motherwell's midfield up against our newly midfield with Bacchus in the middle. So it's going to be a really interesting game. I expect battles on the pitch. I expect it to be an open game as well. And I'm just buzzing. I can be finally back at the football after all these months.
Yeah, it's shaping up to be a good game tomorrow, and I think it will be a full house tomorrow. As well, St Mirren's always a good supporting team, but also I'll be interested to see how many Well fans comes down to the game tomorrow. So yeah, it should be a good game, Alex.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think Robbie's going to like my prediction when it comes to this, but we'll get there in due time. But I think it will be a good game. I was really impressed with Motherwell last week. Their attacking style of play, and but I think I might have mentioned this somewhere. Might have been here, might have been on the dugout. But it was Motherwell. I think were playing a similar style to Rangers, but they actually knew what they were doing. They were organised defensively. They were really good going forward. They were brilliant in the midfield, like Robbie mentioned. And I think they're a team that have come in and surprised me a little bit, because I think I had them quite low in my league table. But they've started really well. I think I only had them there because I didn't really know what to expect from Askew. But he's first game, first impressions last, and it was really, really impressive. Obviously, it's difficult to gauge sort of St Mirren from a trip to Celtic Park, but based off the first kind of two games that I've seen and League Cup performances as well, I think Motherwell might run over the top of you, Robbie, to be totally honest.
I could see it. I really could. I think one position I'm really looking for us to target at the game is Paul McGinn, which, no offence to Paul, because I think he's a decently matched player, but there was a lot of times against Rangers where he fell under the pressure, and I think he just gave away some cheap balls, and that I thought they'd done really well passing at the back, but whenever it really came to him, he just kind of panicked a bit. So I'm expecting us to hit him, and this is the type of game where you really want a fast striker at the top end of the pitch to put pressure on the team. You want to high press. You want to make it difficult for Motherwell, make them punt the ball long, because it's not something that they want to be doing. So if we can do that, I think it can work in their favour. But there's just going to be battles all over the pitch. I'm expecting a close game. And to answer Graham's comment, I was saying earlier, I think Bacchus in the midfield makes the team 10 times better. I was saying earlier, no disrespect to Fraser Taylor, Liam Donnelly or Ocean Smith, but Bacchus in there it naturally makes the team better. All three positions in the midfield, they're all solidified in my opinion, as long as they're all fit now. I think that's a midfield three we'll run with for the whole season, and I expect a really close game at the weekend. I think one thing you can take for Celtic Park is how solid defensively we were. We'll need to be like that again because Motherwell do pose some attacking threat, and obviously one player that I really like is Maswinisha with his pace. So there's a few battles over the pitch I'll be keen to see, but it will be an interesting game.
They've got a really good front three, I think, with Stamatolopoulos, Eli Just, FIFA free agent legend, and also, like you mentioned, Maswinise, and it could be dangerous coming up against it. Obviously, I've got a wee bit of a soft spot for St Mirren. I think it's kind of happened over the last year because of a good mate of mine. But this, I just can't see past this Motherwell team. They looked electric. They looked up for the battle. It was a poor goal for them to lose, so maybe that could be something for St Mirren to exploit. St Mirren have a fair bit of physicality, with the likes of Mikael Mandron, Killian Phillips, although maybe not the biggest in stature, he's quite a physical player as well. You don't want to mess with him. So I feel like that could be something for St Mirren to exploit.
Sorry, Mike, I was just saying there's players that we yet to see in the St Mirren side. Gianmarco Calvin scored in the under-19s during the week. I know we've got Miguel Freckleton at the back that's yet to play. He's a really big physical lad. We're obviously seen Malik Dyche. He never even got a touch at Celtic Park, so we're still yet to see more of him. And obviously we lost a couple of players, as well as the addition as Bacchus as James Scott and Jakaviti went to Ross County. Both, I think Jakaviti's left the club by mutual consent, so good luck to him. But it does just feel like a perfect squad, in my opinion. It feels like a squad that can really push forward in the league. And as you mentioned, Alex, I think there'll be goals in this game. I think one goal might nick it, but I think it'll be a very open, fluid game, and I think both teams will try and attack each other.
There you go, Robbie. I'm not going to ask Alex for his prediction on this one because I think I know what he's going to say. But just come back to last week's game, and that was the first time I've seen Motherwell this season, Alex. And I like the boy Josk up front, and also I thought Motherwell was very physical in the game as well. But I think it will be a different game tomorrow, not only because it's away from home, but going to that tight park at St Mirren's Park.
Yeah, definitely. And it could that could play. I'm not sure about the measurements, but I think just on the eye, St Mirren's pitch is fairly tight compared to other stadiums in the SPFL. So that could be an advantage for them to oh gosh, lost my train of thought there. Yeah, but that could be an advantage for them, definitely, to take into the game and make it tough. You mentioned Motherwell were good and physical, but I feel like St Mirren are more physical. I just feel like a Stephen Robinson team is always going to be more physical than you. So you need to, that'll be something for Motherwell to contend with, and that'll definitely be something I think St Mirren can use to their advantage.
Okay, score predictions. This is going to be one of these kind of ones where you build up, and Alex says Motherwell will run over the top of St Mirren, and it'll be funny if Alex could say 1-0 to Motherwell. But there you go. I'll come to the home team first, and Robbie.
I'm going to go 3-2 to St Mirren. I think we nick it. I think one goal will win the game. I don't think they'll be comfortable, and I think it will be us.
Big build up now, Alex.
3-0 to Motherwell.
Oh, right. Okay, that's right. Team. That's right. Team. I thought we were going to go for 7-0. Just kind of Robbie and a Friday night. So I'm looking forward to seeing this one. I think this is the game of the day tomorrow. Moving on to
Michael, can we get your score prediction?
Oh yeah, sorry. I'll try to be nice to you, Robbie. Here, I will go another 2 each. I'll go a Desmond on this one, 2 each.
You were getting on it, Robbie, for sitting on the fence, and you've done that about 3
I
times.
know, but I'm allowed to do that because I just am. But yeah, I'll go off the fence one day, and maybe not this week. But I will get off it before tomorrow, before it gets raining, as well. Let's go to I would say the kind of. I was going to say that both of these teams put on a good show last week. Actually, both of them new boys to the division, Falkirk and Livingston and Falkirk tomorrow. I'm looking forward to watching a Livingston game. It's not been played on that carpet because I believe that they've got a new surface, Robbie.
They do, and it's a very nice looking surface. If anybody's seen it, it actually does look like a proper nice pitch to play on. So I think it'll be a good game tomorrow. And I know, Alex, you were talking about earlier about Falkirk and the way they played, and I think they stunned a few people, and they did. They stunned me in particular. I didn't expect them to play so fluid and so well at parts. I suspect maybe as the season sort of follows on a bit, they'll naturally maybe tail off a bit. You know, that is the opening game, they're at home, they want to start off well, all that sort of stuff. And I think they will play well at points, and I think tomorrow will be another good game. But I could naturally just see Falkirk maybe dit them off a bit. But in terms of tomorrow, I expect it to be a very open game, as you mentioned earlier, Alex. Livingston, I thought, showed up quite well away at Kilmarnock. I thought they played the ball but nicely at points. Obviously, they found themselves probably undeservedly, as you mentioned, 2-0 down at half time, managed to fight their way back. So I think both teams got a pretty decent opening weekend result, and they'll be looking to clash heads. Obviously, this is a game we've seen a couple of times last season, and it was always decent. So I think tomorrow again will be another decent game.
I think this might be one of if not the most evenly matched game of the weekend. You know, obviously they came together a few times last season. I've not got the results off the top of my head, but I feel like maybe they were fairly mixed. And obviously Falkirk nearly, were in the playoff position at the final day of the season. So, it's a real kind of grudge match, I'd say. Coming here, Livingston nearly got over the line as champions, but they didn't quite get it in the end. So it is a tough one to call, I think, especially with the way Livingston have sort of signed, but the way Falkirk haven't signed, but turned out to perform really well against Dundee United last week. I think John McGlynn has actually kind of kept the sort of core of that side, even from kind of the League One days. There's a few players there that are still major parts of the team, and are sort of for that cohesion. Whereas Livingston on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, I think I've made 10 plus signings. So it's a really kind of interesting kind of way to look at it. And I think it will be a pretty evenly matched game, and I think it will be an exciting game because, as I mentioned, sorry, what are you saying?
No, I was just going to ask you. I think that's where my concern is with Falkirk. I look at the lack of signings, and by the end of the season, they could be comfortable on a table and survived. But I'm looking at some of the players that are potentially still in there for League One, and I go, are they able to do well in a 38-game season? Obviously, we'll see how it goes, but that is always a big risk, keeping players around for 2 leagues below. It's a big step up to the Premiership for the Championship.
Yeah, no, definitely. That was one of my main concerns for them as well. I think I had them in 10th, so staying up just, staying out of that playoff. But I think that is one of my main concerns for Falkirk this season. Maybe there's still something to come in the window. We'll need to wait and see. But as of right now, that is definitely an issue. But I think in terms of this game sort of specifically, it'll be really good because as I mentioned earlier, David Martindale's sticking with his sort of expansive style of play, and Falkirk playing Irish football as well. So I think we might see an end-to-end game that could, come down to a goal after a fair few.
David Mandel was talking about this game, and believe it or not, Robbie, he says, I enjoyed the championship because there was no VAR, and then he goes on to talk about the game. He says that it will be a tough game, but we're looking forward to it, playing at home as well. Do you think that from a new team like Falkirk coming up, they will? Well, a lot of teams are still getting used to VAR, because believe you me, it's going down like a house on fire at the moment in Scottish football. But because Falkirk's not been kind of like involved in a game apart from last week with VAR, it's going to take them a few games to get up to speed. How kind of like everything kind of works in terms of VAR.
Aye, well, I'm excited to see John McGlynn's reaction the first time a really controversial decision doesn't go his way, because he'll learn a bit it very, very quickly. And that is a good point, Michael, that it felt like quite refreshing on Monday and Sunday after the games that we were coming on the show and we weren't just spending the whole time talking about a big VAR decision. We could talk about the football, and trust me, these days in Scottish football, you don't get that a lot in the Premiership. So it was nice to be able to do that. Hopefully it keeps that up. But you're right, I think teams with VAR, I think fans,
Sorry, Robbie, can I just jump in?
Yeah.
You didn't spend too long on the Kilmarnock red card, no? Because I thought that was a bit unfair.
It was a weird one. I didn't think it was as controversial as maybe ones we've seen last season. I mean, I think they're both sort of tugging away at each other a slight bit. But
I think Stanger gets pulled back first initially. He just gets hauled out the road, and then he has to bring the player down. I think it was a foul on him.
Aye, it could have been. I mean, it was a bit of both tugging, and I'll be interested to see what Colum says about it on the next Farvis Russo, which I'm sure is due out soon, by the way. I think it'll be at some point soon, so we'll see what he has to say about that. But also the one at Celtic Park as well was barely spoke about on the show, but it was just refreshing to come on and talk more about football than with our VAR decisions anyway. It made a nice change, and I hope they keep it up. But as I was saying there, I think, teams, I wouldn't necessarily need to say adapt, but they'll learn very quickly about VAR when, they're up celebrating a goal when it gets chopped off and you're gutted all of a sudden. And look, Martindale knows what that's all about. He's had it for a bit in here. I enjoyed the championship, but, you need to come back up and do well now. And I'm interested, they were speaking about enjoying being back in the Premiership. One thing that's going to play massively into Livingston's favour this season, if they can get it, is a good crowd. Now, I'm not sure what the season ticket sales have been like at Livingston. I'm not sure what the attendance is going to be at the weekend, but they're going in it to try and up the attendance a wee bit. It's something that they found maybe let them down a bit last season. I felt like anytime St Mirren went to play at Livingston anyway, and I'm speaking from personal experience, there wasn't much of a home atmosphere, to be honest with you, and that's no disrespect to Livingston, but it wasn't. And obviously, Alex, you'll know where Rangers gone there and Celtic gone there. Celtic and Rangers take 3-4 times the Livingston fans, so that it's never really something that Livingston have had to play into the horns. But the more I suspect there will be a decent atmosphere too. Fairly matched teams out in Falkirk will probably take a good away team and away atmosphere. And I think as Alex said, I think it'll be a pretty open game.
Yeah, no, Robbie was talking about atmosphere there, and yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with you that Livingston would have to do something, especially when it's on TV, the highlights of the week, and you're playing against, say the rights of, Marvel, and it's a PR disaster, I think, for Livingston as well. I think they were giving tickets away to the local schools in Livingston last season as well. But I mean, compare that to Falkirk, Alex, as well. I'm down to Falkirk, going back to the Falkirk Skigum this season, because as a nice wee Skigum, all they have to do is build one more stand opposite the main stand, and it will be a decent atmosphere at the Falkirk Skigum.
Yeah, I've been there myself a couple of times. couple of years ago for a Challenge Cup final for Hamilton Accies, and then this last year I went to the Challenge Cup final as a member of the press, where Livingston battered Queen's Park 5-0. And it's a nice ground, and their pitch as well for an AstroTurf pitch is pretty good. It's it looks nice, and I haven't actually seen Livingston's new pitch yet, but I'm hoping it's similar to that, because Livingston's pitch the last time was, I swear it was worse than some of the pitches I played on in my Sunday League team. So but Falkirk's ground, I think, with that stand missing, maybe I don't know, it adds a little bit of kind of atmosphere in a way, not to in terms of noise, but it was pretty cool. I thought it was you were kind of you were sitting in the ground, and then on the other side are like Astro pitches and stuff, and you see kids, you see the kids playing on the pitches, and then maybe coming over to try and climb the fence and look into the ground and stuff like that, see what's going on. I thought that was pretty cool, but maybe you're right, Michael. Maybe they do need to add an extra stand to sort of make it solidify it as a really good ground. But myself there, when I went, it was really nice. Plus, you get the sun really well in the main stand, because there's no stand across from you.
Robbie, we saw Livingston 2 seasons ago, and that very stuffy team. In fact, I compare Livingston to Hamilton because they're a very stuffy team, and you know what you're going to get. But in terms of Falkirk, I know that we spoke about the fan base and all the rest of it, but what are they going to add to the Premiership this season?
I mean, look, I don't think John McGlynn's going to switch up his philosophy and his tactics. I think he likes to play one way. I think he likes to have a go against any team he faces. We've seen it when he went to Celtic Park. And as I mentioned on the show last week when we were sort of previewing Falkirk in the season, I said it's nice to have one way of playing, but Falkirk can't afford to go to Celtic Park. And I know they put in a good performance and they led in the game twice, but they can't afford to be conceding 5 goals at Celtic Park and conceding goals here, there. They will need to at times be a bit more defensive, whereas I felt like in that game, because it was realistically a 1-0, they could sort of go and have a go at Celtic and try and make it tough for them, and they did. But again, you can't be conceding 5 goals to Celtic and going to Ibrox and conceding a lot of goals, because it can really take a hamp on your season. So I think they maybe need to be a bit careful in that department. But against any other team, they're just as good as any other team in my opinion. I think they can give themselves a real chance at Survivor. I think that's the first step for John McGlynn. A lot of people are backing them to get top 6. I don't see it personally. I think they'll stay up, in my opinion. I think Alex, I'm the same as you. I think I put them 10th, my prediction as well. But I just think they all need to be a wee bit careful and not get too carried away themselves, because they can easily concede a few goals if they're poor defensively, which, by the way, against Dundee United for that first goal especially, they were pretty poor defensively. It took them a long time to try and get sorted at the back, and gave Dundee United pretty much a free tapping.
Aye, those kind of goals to concede are quite poor. And I thought the Dolchek goal as well was a wee bit of poor kind of defending, letting them kind of sort of waltz through like that. And I thought maybe I'm being overly critical here, but I thought Scott Bain should have saved that, because you can't see a shot at your near post like that, especially when it's from the left side and the player uses his left foot. Shouldn't be sneaking in. You know what I mean? Because it's kind of the way you shoot it, it's naturally going to go across towards kind of the goalkeeper. So he should have been saving that as well. But that could be, defensive fragility could be an issue this season. And I think this game on tomorrow, Saturday, is a must win if they want. They need to win games against Livingston, Dundee, and maybe even Kilmarnock. I think you could throw in, because the rest of the division's pretty freaking competitive. A lot of really good teams this season, actually.
So, score prediction, guys, Alex, for this one.
I'm going to hop on that fence, Michael, and I'm going to go with one each.
Yep, okay. Yeah, I'll come off the fence, Alex, because you come on the fence, man. Robbie?
I'm not going to sit in the fence. I'm going to go Livingston, take it 2-1.
And I think I will go for one of the highest goal scoring games of the weekend. I will go 3-2 and a wee win to Falkirk tomorrow. So there you go. That is the Premiership done and dusted for the weekend. Let's jump into the Championship. Of course, Robbie's got the team news for Ross County and St Johnstone in a minute. Let's look at the other games tomorrow then. Ayr against Ray Rovers, confirming against Airdrie, Packet Thistle against Morton, Queen's Park versus Arbroath. So what's your pick of the games this weekend, guys?
Yeah, can I just mention something before we pick our games, Alex? I don't know if you've seen this last week with the Partick Thistle St Johnstone game. Something that I don't think any manager should do is where they're in club shirt, playing shirt. And I watched Mark Wilson's press conference where he was wearing the Partick Thistle away shirt, and I just thought that's something you don't often see managers do. You know, they usually are either in a tracksuit and bottoms or a shirt and tie or something like that, but none of that show playing shirt. I just found that to be quite funny, to be honest.
I didn't see that. I'll need to have a look at that. I think that's kind of mad that he was actually wearing a playing shirt. But yeah, just on the games for the weekend, I think tonight's one's the best one. I think Ayr United and Wraith could be a good one. We could see. I think Wraith Rovers, for me, are a little bit of an underdog this season, a little bit of a dark horse. They've maybe not had the best last sort of year or so, but not too long ago they were up there challenging. So a lot of hype's been put on this Scott Brown Ayr United side. But tonight's game and Ayr United versus Wraith Rovers are probably my games of the weekend.
Okay, let's dive back to tonight's game between Ross County and St Johnstone, and I believe Robbie's got the team news for tonight's game.
Aye, and this is a game tonight will probably be my pick for game of the weekend as well. Two probably evenly matched teams. Starting with the Ross County team sheet, there is one debut for Ross County, that is Yakaviti, goes straight into the starting lineup. So again, apologies in advance. Both of these teams put the numbers first instead of their positions. So it's Laidlaw in goals, O'Sullivan, Wright, Randall, Henderson, Cornelius, Ronan Hale will start up front. Yakaviti, as I mentioned, Mackay Stephen, Declan Gallagher and Lindsay James Scott, the other new player for Ross County, makes the bench. On the St Johnstone end, it is Stewart in goals, Diabate, Holtz, Hadibe, Gullen, Folds, Baird, Mallon, Sprangler, McPake and McCalla.
There you go, that's the team news for tonight. And so I'm going to go for the game of the weekend in the Championship, Packet Thistle against Morton. And I think that you were making reference to Mark Wilson there. I think it's going to be a big season for Mark Wilson, but a big season for Packet Thistle as well, because am I right in saying this is to make the playoffs or maybe end up in top spot? This will be the kind of like third attempt to get the Championship, Alex.
Partick Thistle, I feel they've kind of been knocking at the door for a good while, and you know it's been tough for them. I feel like as a club, I don't know. I feel like as a club, Partick Thistle should be part of the Scottish Premiership. I think growing up for sort of my era, they've always been there or thereabouts. They're part of it in my mind, and it could. I think again, it's going to be a really competitive year. Championship always is, but this could be the season for them. Unfortunately for them, I don't see any other route than the playoffs, because I think St Johnstone or Ross County will take the league title fairly comfortably. I'm leaning more towards Ross County and their recruitment, and looking at that starting 11 that Robbie read out. That's I might even go as far to say I think that's better than Dundee's current team. So I feel like they will probably be the league champions, but I think a route through the playoffs is possible for Mark Wilson and his side this season.
I'd agree. It is such a big season for Thistle. I feel like last season anyway was the best opportunity they could have got. I think they're led to believe they're leading after the first leg of the playoff. Obviously, it didn't quite happen, but it will be a big season for Wilson. The fans will be expecting another playoff place. Obviously, last week it didn't go to plan for Thistle away to Johnston, but let's be honest, was it really ever gone? And I know Wilson spoke after the game and said it was, a couple of really poor conceded goals, including an absolutely wonderful free kick from Allen. But I just feel like a game like tomorrow is so big for them. Playing at home for the first time against Morton, who are doing all right. I don't know if Dougie Emery's going to be back, by the way. I know Billy Davis took charge last week, so I'm not sure what the situation is there, but it is important. Fish will get after a good start. And on your Ross County point, Alex, that is a team that have got Nicky Clark and Jordan White sitting on the bench. In my opinion, I agree with you, that is a better team. I look at it as a better team than Dundee anyway. It's almost a team that you build on Football Manager your first season in the Championship when you know you're going to get promoted, and you just go and sign the sort of Scottish Premiership quality players that are kicking about in free agents and really push for the league. And I think it is important, by the way, for Ross County to hang on to Ronan Hale this season. I know there's been a few links. I know they brought in James Scott. I believe Dundee were interested in Ronan Hale. I'm not sure if there's anything in that, but I think it is important they hold on to him, because I think he will score them a lot of goals in the Championship. And look, they're solid defensively. Having guys like Jakaviti and Gallagher at the back, if they can keep them fit, will help you.
You earlier, you were talking about you maybe want a striker, and it's St Mirren. Would you take Ronan Hale?
I'd absolutely love Ronan Hale, mate. I think it'd honestly be phenomenal. I think it'd be something that we need as well. We don't really have that type of striker in at the club. Where, we've got a couple of guys that are big and physical, like Mandron and Younger, but we need that smaller type of striker. So I think it'd work perfectly. I don't know if we're looking at him. I'd hope so, but I think for Ross County and their perspective, I think it is important they keep a hold of him for their season. I think he'll be big. James Scott, obviously, I don't think you can fully really rely on his physicality. He's been injured quite a lot of us, so it'll be an interesting night action. I think it will be a really good game tonight as well. I'm excited to watch both teams and see how they sort of shape up, because let's be honest, if we're being honest, it's not been a great start for Ross County.
Okay, just before we finish up, guys, I know this is called the Scottish Football Zone, and please subscribe to our new YouTube channel. Fun enough, it's just called the Scottish Football Zone, and what we're trying to do with this is we're trying to talk about the Premiership games, the Championship games, and we've got more shows lined up on the Football Zone coming up in a few weeks' time. But and we cover every aspect of football, whether it's disability football, women's football, youth football, junior football as well. Just to give you a couple of news, nods to some football tournaments taking place. On the 13th on August, that will be next Wednesday then, the Scotland Cerebral Palsy football team will be involved in the Cerebral Palsy European Championships, and they will be up against the Netherlands, Ireland and Germany, and we wish Scotland well in that one on the back of the success in Italy last year, winning the World Championships last year. And also, Robbie, coming up in a few weeks' time, we will get the manager of the cerebral palsy football team on the show when they come back from the Euros, and also this year will be the Homeless World Cup. I don't know if you guys saw that. That was on the news last night, actually, I think it was. And this year, the Homeless World Cup will take place in Oslo in Norway, and we will try and get Derek Ferguson or a couple of guys representing the Scotland squad on the show in the coming weeks. So look out for that, Robbie, and good luck to Scotland taking the field in the cerebral palsy tournament and also the Homeless World Cup as well.
Yeah, good luck to Scotland in both sort of competitions. I hope we go over there and do well and impress and stuff like that. It'll be interesting to speak to the manager as well in a couple of weeks if he comes on the show. And by the way, can I just point out a quick congratulations to Caroline Weir and Scott McTominay for being put up the Ballon d'Or. First two Scottish players since I think Ali McCoist to be nominated for an award as such. So I hope they do well in that.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's brilliant to see Scott McTominay, Caroline Weir getting nominated for the Ballon d'Or. And if they don't win it, Alex, it's okay, because it's still a brilliant achievement. And as I keep saying, it puts Scottish football on the map, even,
Yeah, definitely. It's and I love that. If we get anything, sort of we latch on to it as a nation, and we're like, oh yes, you know what I mean. It could be the smallest thing, but yeah, no, big congratulations to those two. And it would have been, I reckon, it would have been daylight robbery if they weren't in the nominations, based off the seasons that they had. I read a report a few weeks ago that McTominay wasn't going to be included in the top 30, and I was raging. So when I saw the news that he was included, I was very happy to see, because how can you not have the best player in one of the top 5 leagues in the world not in the top 30 for the Ballon d'Or?
So there you go. So it's been a busy show as always. Don't forget a couple of shows to look out for. We'll be back on Sunday at 3:00, looking back at the Celtic Aberdeen game and the rest of the games that weekend as well. Tuesday we'll be on for the Rangers game, and then Thursday we'll be back, hopefully, with Dundee United and Hibs in the net trend of the Conference League. My big thanks to Alex and Robbie for joining us on a Friday night, and thanks for all your comments, and we'll do it all again on Sunday live here on the Football Zone at 3:00.
You're watching the Scottish Football Zone with all the build-up and reactions.